This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Anytime is a good time to break a bad habit. Could be making improvements to your routine at home. Maybe it's your job performance. Could be physical health, financial health. The time to make a positive change for your future right now. But Scott, only 33% of Americans have a written financial plan. So a lot of people winging it when it comes to spending. And how could we break the bad habit of living without a budget, Scott?
How to break a bad habit. It'd be like telling me not to have cake and ice cream, and I love cake and ice cream. You know, breaking that habit is, you have to first come to a point, do I want to break a bad habit? And that's where it comes in the area of money. When you start to see your money dwindling down, maybe it's time to put the brakes on and then say, okay, I need help. Maybe you get some help. A lot of people don't think they need help. They think they got it in control, but sometimes the wives or the husbands know better. And so again, knowing there's a problem is the start. Like Alcohol Anonymous, knowing there's a problem, we can start from that. Then of course, the next area is once you understand there's a problem, okay, a budget. And that I call that the cuss word. So you got 6 letters in the word budget. And as you think about the word budget, are you spending too much? It'll catch you. And when I tell our clients before they retire, I love to meet people before they retire, either they're new to us or maybe they're heading into retirement. What I like to do is give them a budget sheet. And if they get a budget sheet, I ask them almost like the best place to put it on the refrigerator so they can see it. Alex, my mom and dad, I have to use this example as a habit, a good habit or a bad habit. They did have a budget on the sheet. I think it was for us, my sister and I. But the most important thing is my dad did the bills. My dad ended up telling my mom, literally saying to my mom, I remember when I was younger, Joan, you're going to write the bills out. You're going to see what we're spending. Because when dad does it all the time, she didn't know what was going out. So mom would go out and buy things and just spend money, well, haphazardly. And I think the challenge, Alex, what I see more often than not is one person is a Scrooge.
Poppycock. Balderdash. There.
And the other person is, spendthrift. They're having a blast. And I think that's where the challenge is when a married couple start to argue about money, whether they're young or now they're in retirement. And now that, Alex, we're facing a real crunch called inflation, money goes much faster and you have to keep an eye on the budget. So mom and dad had a budget on the board, which I tell my clients and people meeting us for the first time, let's have a budget. Let's get together 3 to 6 months before you retire and let's see if you can stay within your budget. Let's start spending that money now. Alex, this is a hard process, but a powerful process if people are out there. So if they're doing this, I don't know if this answers your question. I hope it answers some of you out listening. But if you're fixing to go into retirement, put a budget together and just watch. And you're allowed to make mistakes. Why? Because you're going to. But when you make the mistakes, you're going to learn where they are. And I can tell you, it'll catch you when you're making those mistakes. You'll be able to kind of figure out what you need to work on. So again, breaking that habit.
Well, and Scott, one of those mistakes is just being complacent. Not making adjustments to your portfolio, not paying attention to fees that you're paying, keeping money with financial institutions just because it takes you time to explore other options. So how can working with you really avoid being too complacent with your retirement savings?
I think whether it's with me or with their current financial advisor or with anybody they're working with, if they're not asking to see what's going on and maybe you're not humble enough, if you're out there listening, maybe you're not humble enough to ask for help. Maybe it's time to get a little bit humble and say, you know what, maybe I need some help, because procrastination is is like a friend of mine says, what does procrastination mean? Well, I'll tell you tomorrow. They put it off until later. I think the challenge is, again, looking at your numbers, not putting it off, and then getting help for someone who's, this is all I do for a living is work with people and guide them, not tell them, not dictate what to do, but guide them into making some smart decisions with their money so they don't run out of money before they run out of life. And that's the challenge I find.
And Scott, people want to reach out for more information. How could they do that?
Man, I'd love to be able to speak to you off the air. You were able to give us a call at our studios, 609-488-4646. Let me help you out before you give our studios a call. You might want to write down some questions before you call. That way you're really prepped with maybe I really need help in this area. Now, again, you want to give our studios a call at 609-488-4646. Bonnie at my office will make a time for us to speak if I'm in meetings. But I can tell you, I appreciate those of you that maybe just need a little help in that area. By the way, Alex, a sidebar real quick.
Yeah.
I had a lovely couple come in. They do taxes with us. They did their will, power of attorney, living will. They did their trust with us. But the gentleman, 81 years old, wife, 86 years old, came in today. Now, they've been doing taxes and their estate plan with us for now going on 7 years. He's 81. We sat down just today, as we were speaking to each other, and I was amazed they came back in. So I said, guys, how can I help you? What can I help you with? And he goes, my husband, the wife, the beautiful lady, she said, Scott, my husband needs help. I said, well, y'all still like each other? And they said, yeah. Well, they started cracking up. I said, well, I'm so happy. I said, what kind of help you need? He goes, well, I think my husband's maybe forgetting things. And I'd like to know how to get all of my required minimum distribution tax-free, because my girlfriend just put a kitchen in and she pays no taxes. What I'm getting at for those of you listening right now is a misunderstanding from listening to others. In other words, they don't know her income. Maybe she's in a zero tax bracket and she took money out of her IRAs and it didn't really bother her tax bracket. In this client's case, they have over $2 million and the market has been really evaporating their accounts. And they have to pull out $55,000 in RMD money this year. And they want me to help them, of course, give them the holy grail, no taxes. Well, that dog don't hunt. So I had to walk through the process of A, what they're hearing from other people. B, maybe your husband needs to change the way he invests. And he looked at me and he said, Scott, I think I need help. His wife looked at him almost with who is this guy? He never asked for help. He knew he was at the point he needed help. And I said, well, who do you need help from? Would you like it from me? Are you looking for another advisor? Scott, we've been with you for so many years. You've never tried to sell us anything. Frankly, you never even asked us to do business with you until we felt comfortable. And that's why we liked coming here, because you didn't twist our arm. Well, we finally discovered today that not only was his investments risky, but he was investing, Alex, in a CDs at 2% when he could get right now in different vehicles guaranteed 4.5% right now. Right. If you're listening to right now, I'm telling you, as of this show, I guess this show, Alex, I don't know the date of this show, but as of this show, and you might want to give our studios a call at 609-488-4646 to find the latest rates, because the rates have been getting better. But they said, you mean I can get that kind of money guaranteed? I said, yes. And I'm not even going to, there's no fees, no cost. And I can take the money out. And if I pass away, it's all completely liquid. It's not tied up like these other types of vehicles. They were tickled pink. His wife looked at me. She said, Scott, this money isn't for us. It's for my children and grandchildren. What am I going to say to her? When you get your RMD, why don't you enjoy the children and give them some money, and maybe they'll really appreciate, especially in this inflationary time. And of course, crazy market. And again, habits. they have the money, but their best friend probably didn't have the money. Their best friend was not paying taxes, but maybe, and I know they're paying tremendous taxes. So we're able to work the tax structure out and educate her. And finally, they came to the point where the husband said, Scott, we need help. So if you're out there and you're thinking, you know what, perhaps I need help. Perhaps you want a second opinion. Probably all smart people get second opinions. Frankly, when my mom and dad got cancer, we didn't get a second opinion. We got a third and fourth opinion before I said, I think enough is enough. We need to take action. I don't know if you're out there thinking about that, but I can tell you this is not a time to procrastinate. It's like our nation. What do you call a country that pushes off everything until the last minute? I call that procrastination. You're putting things off. Don't do that to your finance. Alex, I don't know if that's real clear to people, but I hope as you speak to many audiences, Alex, you speak to people around the United States, and I appreciate your time with your media company that you're helping me guide these people to make sound decisions with their money. But it comes to number one, realizing you need help, as we spoke about. Number two, coming to the conclusion, who's best to help me? And number three, don't just run to the first guy and gal you meet. Make sure there's a track record. They look at the taxes, the estate planning, and the investment, because this is holistic investing, not simplistic investing, to have so you can sleep well at night, knowing that your money's in a very good place.
Well, and Scott, you don't want to wait too long either. There's so much involved here. You're talking about fees. You're talking about tax efficient strategies. There's certain windows of time that are so important when you're talking about retirement.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's just so many details here. And that's why it is just so important for people not to procrastinate, to not get complacent. Some real keywords here today. But again, your message to the folks out there, if people are sitting there and they haven't acted, again, reiterate why you can be somebody, whether it's a first option, maybe a second opinion, but can just help explain the different nuances that need to be addressed.
Alex, you couldn't have said that better. For those listening right now, I'd like to offer you a unique opportunity to say, you know what? I think I'd like to get a second opinion. I'd like to pop in and get some ideas. If you're out there, you know what? Best way, maybe make a phone call. This way you don't feel like you're getting twisted or sold or coerced into buying something. When I do workshops, and if you haven't been to my workshops, we usually do workshops on a monthly basis. We do 2 or 3 workshops a month, if not 4 workshops. Since COVID was around, we were doing almost 1 workshop a week, and we were educating people. Not one meeting did we ever ask to buy a product, to do a service. Let's just have a conversation. And if people have been to our website, Alex, which is 609-488-4646.com, go there right now. I encourage, if you're listening right now, 609-488-4646.com. Take a look at our website. And the reason why I tell you that is because you're going to be able to see what we're about if you go about us. And you'll see a wonderful, we made this during COVID to help people understand, hey, we want to help. And Alex, this is my 41st year. We don't beg or bug anybody. As I call my staff, we pleasantly persist if you want our help. If not, we're still here. So if you decide you want a second opinion, or like the family today, they just want to revisit, well, why don't you just come in? But if you're on the website right now, 609-488-4646, I encourage you to click that button where it says contact us, and you'll see where a button says our team. Contact us, click on our team, and you'll see a video of a couple of our clients, and I think that'll help you.
Scott McLean, McLean Tax Advisory Group. More financial insanity on the other side.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thousands of baby boomers retire every day. And by 2030, they're all going to be 65 years old. Then if baby boomers are up to bat for retirement, that means Generation X is on deck. Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman along with Scott McLean. If you hear something today raises some questions, 609-488-4646 is the number, 609-488-4646. And Scott, we're going to talk about Gen X here in just a moment, but 10,000 boomers turning 65 each and every day. And when you have that many people leaving the workforce, it's going to be some potential impact on the economy, I would think, Scott.
Huge impact leaving the economy. And of course, that's why you want to have more kids. So we have people to pay for these Social Security benefits. What is it? For every retiree getting Social Security, we're going to have a problem that yet 1 equals 1. Could we get to that denomination for every person that retires? You could have one person to pay for that. That's a big problem when it used to be a 20 to 1 many years ago. So it's going to be a big impact, people leaving. I find this funny. I think it's real funny. I remember when I was a young little rat a couple of years ago, when my dad was around, and a brilliant man. And he says, son, as you build your companies out, and we've had a couple companies. I've done a lot of real estate. I've bought a lot of real estate properties, built a development in a place called Toms River, New Jersey on Todd Road. You'll see McLean Court, Winston Court, we just had fun while I was running the business. And he says, son, when you get older, just remember, look at the older person. They've got a lot of wisdom. Don't fire an older person if they've got a lot of wisdom, insight. That was really helpful to me now that I'm the older guy. Luckily, I have my own business. They can't fire me because I'm ugly. But the neatest thing is, I think we have a lot of people that are getting out of the business. We have a lot of older people staying in the business. But imagine them leaving, and now you bring in a young stud or studette in the industry, and they don't have the wisdom. They have the drive. They have the energy. But that could, of course, cause a problem called quality control. Cause a problem called excessive work or excessive time. Maybe people are spending time looking at their phones versus looking at the work. You've got these young studs and studettes. They think they know everything, but they have some older person like myself helping educate them, like I do with George, who's been with me for many, many years, a brilliant financial planner and financial advisor. And he's listening to me and taking that in. I hope those young people out now are doing that as the old people are leaving, the baby boomers are leaving. This is going to cause a rumble in the market. Remember, the old folks like myself, we have the majority of money, and the younger folks want it. And the question is, how will it last? Are they getting the financial education they need to make their money last? And I think that's really important, Alex. Are they getting that education? What do they do with their money, and how do they handle it? And I don't know if mom and dad's really talking to them because there's no financial classes in school that are doing it.
Well, sure. And, one thing that everybody wants is to leave a legacy. And one legacy could be financial support for, generations behind you. And one area where Gen Xers could, learn something from boomers is getting started early. And so you have these Gen Xers right now, maybe they're in their mid-50s, still 10 to 15 years from retirement, but that doesn't mean they should just be sitting back and wait. They've been hearing about retirement. They've been thinking, oh, that's my dad, that's my mom, that's the baby boomers. No, that's now you almost. And so now's the time for those folks to really be thinking about it, if not even before now.
Now, Alex, you're a lot younger than I am, but I think what's so funny, nothing has changed. You think about when you're a little kid and Christmas was coming. For those who celebrate Christmas, and you look in the countdown, and here it is, July 2000, and all of a sudden you're about to have Christmas. You're a young little whippersnapper, and July to December 25th is so far away. But us older folks are thinking it's right around the corner.
Yep.
And you think about almost retirement. It's almost the same thing. It's right around the corner. So I'd like to give those of you a quick heads up on math. Let me give you a quick math. If you have grandkids or kids, I call it 10% rule. I call it the 10% rule. I have said this several times on my shows. I know, Alex, you've brought it up many, many times. When you talk about the 10% rule, what does that mean, Scotty? Well, here's what it means, y'all. You ready? Brainwash your grandkids. Brainwash your children to save 10% every paycheck till retirement. I can tell you that's probably the best brainwashing you could ever do. Why? Because it works with compound interest, dollar cost averaging. Compound interest, dollar cost averaging, the rule of 10% in retirement for savings for retirement. So if my paycheck, and I'm delivering newspapers, you grandkids out there, please tell your grandparents, hey, if you made, do they deliver newspapers, Alex? I don't know if they do that
Man,
anymore.
I don't think so, my man. That's there might be a few towns that still do it, but
well, I'm just thinking, if you're making $10 delivering newspapers or mowing the yard for $25, $2.50. Now, getting your kid to save $2.50, I talk about that in my introduction to my book. That's $2.50. I guarantee they start getting brainwashed. It's going to become a habit. And that muscle memory, that habit can stay with them. And they will be very, 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 very secure at retirement. Dollar cost averaging 10%. Now, if you're older and you're heading into retirement, maybe it's a higher number, and so that's why you want to give me a call. Scott, am I on target? Will I have enough for the money to last? 609-488-4646. Scott, I need to ask you a question. Let's get together off the air, no cost, no obligation. I promise you, I will not try to say anything, but I can tell you, let's find out if you're on target or off target. There's nothing worse than, as you mentioned in the beginning of this segment, Alex, that many people are afraid to ask questions. Why? Because they're going to get sold. Why are they asking questions? Because they're embarrassed. Why? Because they feel they should know, but they don't know. This is why do you go to professionals for guidance? And that's why I have in my workshop and all my education, when people meet with us, hide your checkbook, hide your wallet. You can't do business with me. Let's get to know each other. And then we can decide if it's a good fit for you or for my firm. Because not knowing that's the biggest pain, which is called change. Am I willing to change my habits? Then once you change your habits, the biggest problem, listen to me, this is you listening, is called procrastination. You keep putting it off, but you didn't call McLean Advisory Group or an advisor. You didn't give a call at 609-488-4646. I got to put a plug, but you didn't call us to get some information, no cost, but you didn't find out the information you need to know to your circumstance, whether you're having a great marriage and it's maybe your child gets sick. Maybe you're about to get remarried. What kind of trust should you have? How do I protect my assets for my children, even though I'm getting remarried? How do I take care of my lovely spouse in case their lights go dim? How do I make sure my money's in a good position because the market's so volatile? These are questions people are afraid to ask because they're afraid to get sold. And then you end up putting it off for procrastination and doing nothing. There's nothing worse than sticking your head in the sand, because what happens? Your vitals are exposed like an ostrich looking at their egg. This is a challenge, I find, Alex.
609-488-4646 is the number for Scott and his team. 609-488-4646. 10,000 boomers turning 65 each and every day. But Gen X coming right behind them, getting ready here pretty soon. And one question I have here, Scott, can Gen X count on Social Security for their retirement?
They can really count on it, but the question is, will they be able to count on it? I mean, right now, the way the deficit's going, could they be using money from the Social Security coffers? We already know that the number comes down. Every time I do an educational workshop on Social Security, it comes down. So now the question is, could there be a 20% drop by 2033? That's right around the corner, 10 years from now, as we do our show today in 2023. So if you're listening this in 2024, okay, it's 9 years, but the question is going to be, can I take a haircut? Or am I saving enough outside of Social Security? Alex, is the real question, because if you want to live on Social Security, and many people can, but maybe they're living with their children. Maybe they're living with their sugar daddy or sugar mama. I don't know. But
That's
the
my
question
plan.
is, can you live on it? I mean, I don't know, but I want to make sure that I'm buttoned up nice and safe. I don't want to be a drain on my children.
Of course.
But maybe it's not a drain. Maybe I'm just living at their house, which is, I've had several conversations. Should I buy a house, Scott, that's a duplex? Maybe. I don't know. But the question is, how long will your money last if the market drops 30%? If the stock market drops 30% like it did in 2008, when it was a 56% drop in 1 year, how are you going to sleep at night? This is why people are calling us often, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's wise, and
It's real.
And obviously, it's smart to get started early. And we're talking about Gen Xers, but Scott, final question here. This segment, maybe when you're even in your 40s, you still have some time, but what should you be thinking about at that point? And is that too early to get with a financial advisor like yourself?
I think people should get a financial advisor when they're a lot younger. And then if they're 40s, yes, I think it's not even an issue. I don't shop somebody out. I don't care. 2 or 3 appointments. Find different people. Find someone that you can mesh with. Find someone who's not going to look at you as a dollar sign, but they're looking at as they want to help you sign. This is how you shop. And I've got a whole white paper on that, Alex. People can get their hands on it. How do you look for a financial advisor? How do you mesh, and what questions should you ask? Really, really important, because putting it off, it just causes a bigger problem.
609-488-4646 is the number. 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. And like Scott mentioned earlier, you can go to the site there and send in your own questions, which is just so important, Scott, because that's what we're going to talk about on the show. We wouldn't be talking about stuff if people weren't worried about it. They didn't have concerns. They didn't have questions. And so getting those to us is just so important, because we want to try to answer.
I'd love to help the people. Put your questions down. Go to our website. Give us a shout out. I think that's critical.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, Gen Xers not quite retiring in droves just yet, but definitely need to start thinking about it, getting their head into the game. We're going to talk about more of that coming up. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This, to me, is very important.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Gen Xers not retiring in droves just yet, but they are worried about how to get ready for retirement. You have these folks in their 40s, their 50s, and And so, still around 10, 15 years maybe from retirement, Scott. We're talking about these folks today and how they can get prepared. If you have questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And so, Scott, for those folks that maybe still have another 10 years until they retire, what should they be really prioritizing in terms of their savings at this point?
Wants versus needs. Wants versus needs. A lot of time you want to get that fancy car, but then you're thinking, is my savings, do I have enough for retirement? You're not going to think about that when you're driving that nice new, smelling car, brand new leather seats, or that boat. And you think about, how much am I saving? How much am I putting away? This is wants versus needs. We all know this. We've all heard it. This is nothing new. You don't have to go get the degrees I have to get that, but it's very, very basics. And you think about the very basic is number one. If you're saving enough money in savings, emergency fund, as well as saving enough money for retirement, do you know that number? Do you know what you should focus on? And don't use these pie in the sky, stupid numbers. Well, if you're getting a 12% rate of return, then you have to always save this. Don't use, be very critical on the rate of return. When a financial guy or a gal says, we're going to get you a nice rate of return of 12 to 15%. This happened to me in the 80s when the market was screaming, and the 90s. And I remember people coming in, Scott, when the market's screaming, if you can't get me 12 to 15%, I can do it myself. And they were right in that small window of opportunity.
Yeah.
And time. The question is, let's not use fake numbers, because we don't have a fake retirement when you get to the retirement age you want to get to. Are you using realistic numbers? I'm not going to tell you what it is out there, guys, but I can tell you, use realistic numbers. If you call me at our studios, I'll talk to you about it. But the second thing is, of course, want versus needs. This is the biggest problem when you say, I want to go on that fancy trip. I can tell you, I've had a clients came in, Scott, we've got over $200,000 saved, and we have $1,500 of Social Security from my wife. My Social Security is $2,000 a month, and we only need $5,000 to live on. Okay, well, that means you need $1,500. How do you plan on making that up? So what does $1,500 mean to you? What does your number mean to you? And I talk about this, and I use the rule of 4 to keep real simple. And I'm going to give it real easy to you guys. If you take the rule of 4 and I need $1,500 to get me my $5,000 like the client, well, $1,500 times 12 is $18,000. So I need to make $18,000 a year for the rest of my life. Well, if I use the rule of 4, I simply divide it by the rule of 4. That means I need $450,000 in my nest egg by age, let's say 65, all right, when I turn on my Social Security, or for those of you, 67, whatever that number is. But now we have to add one more factor in called, well, that's inflation. So let's throw that number in, and that's the number we focus on. Now we can buy that fancy new car with the wonderful smelling seats and leather, or we can buy that nice boat, or maybe we can put the pool in the backyard. But the mindset needs to be, but we need, honey, to put away $341 a month to get to our number. That's what Scotty said, or that's what our financial advisor said. These are numbers, but let's make them more fun, because finance is not fun. And most of you listening to me, you probably don't like numbers. Most people don't like numbers, except you win the lottery. Then you get the right numbers you like. That's probably the only time you like numbers. But cultivate the mindset of saving. Understand, if it's $325 a month you need to save, honey, can we buy that boat? Yes, we are on target. How great would that feel, knowing you're on target and you're going to buy that boat, or that pool that your kids are screaming for, or maybe the college fund you need to save for? Alex, make finances fun, even though they're not fun all the times. Pursue the passions you want in retirement. Cultivate a social connection. What are we going to do when we retire? What does it look like? And then I think of those older people that are in retirement right now. the volunteer give back. There's an organization I'm strongly love. It's called Star Poverty right here in Barnegat, New Jersey, where they're only focused to how do I get people food, and they need volunteers. Listen to me right now. If you can offer time to Star Poverty right here in Barnegat, New Jersey, please call me right now so I can get you the information on Starve, STARV, Poverty. They do a wonderful job. This nonprofit, I know the people, I know the money is very fiscally sound. 609-488-4646. I am a big supporter of theirs. I can tell you the work they do for people that are not as privileged as you listening to me. They want to help. If you want to volunteer, do a give back. 609-488-4646. And then you can think about your travel. Where do you want to explore? Not knowing that you've touched your finances are in order, your social calendar is in order, your give back is in order, you're volunteering, helping people. There's nothing worse than staying in your house and doing nothing versus getting out and helping others. This is my biggest ploy when I see people pursuing retirement. Well, here's the more other areas other than money. What are the other areas psychologically, emotionally you need to pay attention to? And I think that's really important when it comes to financial planning, Alex, not just numbers.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I know a lot of people listening right now as we're talking about Gen Xers and baby boomers. And one thing that they share is that they may be a part of that sandwich generation where they're right in between. Maybe they're taking care of parents and they're taking kids at the same time. And Scott, this can have a huge impact on your finances, can have a huge impact on planning for your own well-being in the future. And how does maybe someone address this?
Sandwich generation. I heard that. It was kind of funny. And you think about taking care of your mom and dad, like my meeting just a while ago, helping your mom and dad. Or maybe you meet a Generation Xer and they're 50 years old, got a couple kids. Maybe their kids are 20, 23. Then you got the grandmom and grandpa, 70s and 80s. How does that look? And then all of a sudden you find out you have to take care of mom and dad, and you're juggling all sorts of emotional things, taking care of your mom and dad, taking care of your young kids, and all of a sudden the grandbabies start popping out, or your children are having struggles. I don't know if this is answering your question when you think about it, Alex, but the Generation Xers versus the boomers, this sandwich generation, the financial responsibilities may not seem much to you now, but when it sneaks up on you and your dad has a heart attack, your mom gets MS, your children get a divorce and they don't have any money, it sneaks up on everybody. It affects more than just one person. This is an emotional and financial question, Alex. And this is a big thing that people aren't paying attention, let alone the medication, the expense they're paying for healthcare.
Yeah.
And so this is really important, Alex.
Well, and I think the big thing is, Scott, is that you can plan, but life is going to happen.
Yes, for sure.
It's going to happen, and you've seen it happen, and people know this already in their own lives. They know that they've planned, and then, well, I didn't know I'd get married at 20 and divorced at 30, or I didn't know that, like you said, my parent was going to get sick or whatever. And so, it is important to plan, and then you also have to plan for the unexpected, which I know that sounds impossible, but there are things you can put in place to do that, right, Scott? In the last couple minutes we have.
This is a funny, just a lovely client. They have a significant amount of money, husband and wife, great. They've been with us many, many years as financial clients. We've guided them through the legal and taxes. Let me give you a situation. This may be you out there. Listen, they're close. They have a beautiful son, a beautiful daughter. The daughter went through a terrible divorce. She has 2 children, and now she's getting remarried, and she will be inheriting significant money when mom and dad pass away. I know that. I know the whole family. Here's the question. When I asked the father today, if your daughter dies before you do, and then the money goes to the estate, does the money go to the grandchildren? He goes, well, Scott, you did my estate. I said, I know. But what does her will say? What if she dies after you? She inherits the money, then she dies. Does her new husband get the money, and the money goes to her children and to his children? Does she have that in her will? Has the financial advisor paid attention to the will of your children, the will, power of attorney, living will? You see, when you pass money on, we can help our clients grow money, Alex. The question is, what happens if they pass on? Should we have that? I call it the come to Jesus meeting, come down to earth and find out, by the way, kids, I'm not trying to weasel my life into you becoming your financial advisor, but mom and dad want to make sure that you're buttoned up nice and tight, that in the event mom and dad dies, that your money goes to you and your portion of the money goes to the blood, not to the new husband or the new husband's children if they have children before they get married. I see this time and time again. People are not paying attention to the legal aspects, let alone where does the money go and do they have enough money, Alex? This is another snag in the three blind mice scenario. 609 488 4646. By the way, guys, that's my website, 609 488 4646. That's the phone number. And it's also 609 488 4646.com. You can't forget it. Why? Because we're here for you to help you answer your questions and concerns. No cost, no time. It is the best time right now.
Financial Insanity with Scott McLean continues in just a moment.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
The basics of special needs benefits and trust planning. Talking about that today. This is Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And then also, maybe his better half, I don't know, but special guest Dave Connolly, lawyer in the area for over 40 years and is now a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo, of course. But Dave, coming in here to educate us a little bit about a very important topic, because maybe your current advisor hasn't asked these important questions, and this is something that should be checked in on a yearly basis because things can change. But talking about taking care of someone with special needs and talking about the benefits that go into that. And Dave, this is important stuff because there are resources out there that folks might just not be aware of.
Absolutely. With a special needs child, or adult, you want to be able to take advantage of whatever government entitlement programs there are. There are a myriad of different programs out there. Some of them are means tested, which means that they're critical on your assets and your income. Others you're entitled to regardless, depending upon how long you've worked. The Social Security office would administer them and will determine whether you qualify or not. But the more important ones are Medicaid and SSI. Those are means-tested programs that you have to qualify for. The SSI will pay for your shelter and food. The Medicaid, which is more important, will pay for your medical, such as long-term care, home care, provide you a myriad of different medical resolutions. And if you qualify, it becomes very important to maintain those benefits. The problem is that parents or other people that want to take care of a special needs child or person, they don't understand that if they provide income directly to that person, they get kicked off the entitlement program. And when you're living in a long-term care facility that's costing $12,000 a month and Medicaid's picking up the tab, if you get kicked off, you got a lot of problems. So proper planning has to be performed in order to provide some assistance to the disabled person who is getting the entitlement programs.
Very important. And if you hear something today, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And Dave, it seems like an obvious question, but why is this so important? What are some of the challenges that somebody is going to face, especially financially, if they are taking care of someone with special needs?
Well, you want to maintain that person on the entitlement programs, as I indicated before. So what does the trust do? The Special Needs Trust provides a quality of life that will allow that disabled person to maintain that quality and still maintain the government assistance. For example, the Medicaid program will pay for the long-term care facility, but other things such as transportation to and from the doctors, recreation, a computer, all of these items are not addressed by Medicaid, and as a result, the Special Needs Trust is set up so that it will provide these tools to the disabled persons to bring them up to a quality of life. So you got a twofold problem. One, to keep the medical benefits flowing in. Two, to bring the person up to a quality of life so that they're not just the basic having their bills paid, the medical bills paid, but have no quality.
Alex, I was thinking as Dave is sharing this critical information, as we look at clients on a daily basis, we're always asking, how is your wife feeling? How is your husband feeling? How are the kids? Tell me how the kids are doing and the grandkids. This determines, it starts from the first appointment when we ever meet with people to really dive deep to make sure that all areas of your finances that you're listening to us right now, you out there right now, are all areas buttoned up. And the reason why I say are they buttoned up is because people may not have asked, by the way, how are the grandkids? The reason you ask how the grandkids is could be a special needs grandchild. And what kind of benefits? Because if they have in their language per stirpes to pass the bloodline, and then mom and dad pass away and their son had passed away previously, it goes to the bloodline. Now, this is so critical to ask your advisor on a yearly basis, at a minimum on a yearly basis. Hey, are we buttoned up so the Uncle Sam, the crows and the clowns don't show up at the funeral to take my money? And we talk about that in chapter 11 of my book, which is why when I worked with Dave for tech since 1983, 84, so many years, and there's a lot of good attorneys out there, but do they work with their financial advisor and their tax advisor as they conglomerate, they collaborate together to protect your assets? And the purpose of these trusts is to what? Protect assets, and to get as much that you've paid into the government, you get out. And this is the mistake I can tell you I see so often, Alex.
Absolutely. And that number, 609-488-4646 for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. This all part of that holistic approach. That's why Scott brings in a guy like Dave. Not that Scott's not really smart, but he knows to even bring around even smarter people than him to help him with this important stuff.
I always have smarter than people than me, Alex. It makes me look good. But here's the challenge, Alex, as you brought up, which is really, really wise. If you haven't brought this up to your advisor, feel free to give us a call. And the reason why you'd call us is maybe if you want to speak with Dave, or speak with Elizabeth, or speak with someone who does this. They do this all the time. This is not a surgeon that is doing surgery once a month or once a year. This is you need to know the game because the rules change so often, and when they change, if they miss one dot, one iota, one area, this is where the problems come out. And when the problems come out, that happens to what? More chaos. And
Right.
so your money could be at risk. Hey, if you want to get a hold of Dave, call my office. He does the estate planning, then along with Elizabeth. He's our consultant here at 609-488-4646. This topic no one likes to talk about, but I like to talk about it because, again, it's part of buttoning up, making sure your finances are really set up and as best as possible bulletproof for any of the crows and clowns that show up at the funeral or shows up when your lights are going dim, or maybe your spouse's lights is going dim, and your spouse, maybe you need to have an irrevocable trust. Maybe you start setting assets for your mom and dad. Dave, which he didn't say, is a veteran receiving 100% of veterans benefits. He served in Vietnam and he survived it, although he's gone through a lot of challenges. But I will tell you, if you're a veteran out there or a spouse of a veteran, there's also benefits in including the benefits that we're talking about today. And this trust could be a great piece of your discussion. Hey, give me a call off the air if you'd like to talk to me, no cost. We're not going to spin you or twist your arm. People have known me for how many years now? It's 13, 14, 15 years on the radio now at 609-488-4646. If we can guide you, if you want me to get a hold of Dave and maybe put you guys together, no cost, no obligation. You can ask him some questions at his office. Please feel free to give me a call, 609-488-4646, because there's nothing worse, Alex, than procrastination. And that is the demon of finance I've found so often.
Absolutely. As that is Scott McLean. We're being joined by Dave Connolly, also lawyer in the New Jersey area for over 40 years, now a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo. And we're talking about something very important today. We're talking about special needs benefits. And you hit on something, Scott, there that I think is important, and that is just who are we talking about here when we talk about who qualifies for this? Both when we're talking about someone with special needs, and then also we got to think too from financial. Is there some sort of threshold, or how do you qualify for something like this?
Yeah, most of the time you qualify, you have to be disabled. For some programs such as Medicare, which is definitely not needs-based, everybody qualifies for Medicare who has worked and has turned 65. Or there's other certain requirements for younger people that they can qualify.
Why are you looking
also
at me, Dave? Oh, I'm turning 65.
So certain programs are needs-based. So there's all different programs. But if you want, we're working on a paper in our office. If you call Scott's office and leave your email, we'll email you the paper, and you can get at least a background. Then you can decide whether you want to pursue it or not.
And what about some common misconceptions or mistakes when it comes to special needs planning? Because I know without some guidance, there's probably some opportunities or some mistakes that could be made if you don't have that guidance.
I think it's the intake, number one, the intake form, the information that you receive. Did they drill down and get as much information as possible? Number two, when can you apply? And is there a time limit? Could there be like a 5-year look back provision? I got a phone call last week where someone says, yeah, we're going to transfer the assets into all 3 of my children's names and we're good. And I'm saying, you're not good. You're still in trouble. You still have the 5-year. And imagine one of the children spends 1/3 of the assets. The other 2 has it. They're going to come after that 1/3 of the assets. So this is a problem, Dave.
Oh, absolutely. Without proper planning, you're not going to get the entitlement or the needs-based benefits. The trust is there to allow you a quality of life while you're still maintaining your SSI and Medicaid benefits. If you qualify for SSI in New Jersey, you're automatically qualified for Medicaid. the qualifications for Medicaid are quite complicated. They're hard to. It's a hard process to go through. But once you do qualify, they're picking up $10,000 a month for the long-term care, which is a lot of money if you're in there for 4, 5, or 6 years.
Why not protect your assets? Hey, this is Scott McLean. If we can help you, we would love to help you. 609-488-4646. Financial planning is not just easy. It's not a set it and forget it. This is why you give our studios a call. This is you. Maybe you're facing this. Maybe you're going into this area. 609-488-4646. I'd love to talk to you off the air.
Scott opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008 to help veterans and their families, guiding them to these important benefits. Again, that number, 609-488-4646. The number for Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. And again, a special salute and thank you to all of our veterans.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.